A minute ago it was snowing so hard you couldn't even hardly see the house across the street. It just eased up quite a bit. So I was just horsing around with the wiring, and as you remember, the turn signals, this one, I don't know, the colors were opposite here, so these would blink in the right directions. So I switched these from end to end so they're all a correct color coding. These are for the headlights, for the headlight I should say. And I ran the speedometer cable up through the, I gotta fix the speedometer yet, but I ran the cable up through the bezel so I can put the headlight assembly in, and I connected up the switches for the handlebars and put the wiring harness tie straps back on. This is where, you know, I haven't done anything with the fender, but the tail lights, the brake light. So it's all strapped in, looking good. Put that strap on, put the clutch cable in place, throttle cable is routed correctly, and just kind of getting things into order here. And as you can see, turn the key on, we got a neutral light which didn't work before, and the light for the speedometer. And then obviously the signals aren't going to flash because we don't have the rear ones on, but that would be the left and the right. And of course the indicator. So things are going together in the wiring. I'm going to put the headlight back together. I took the lamp out so I could buff this, and I buffed the little adjuster screw and the screw that holds it together, which I don't know where it is right now. I'll have to hunt around and find it. Oh, I know where it is. Right there. Buff that too. Wiring's all completed in here. What a rat's nest, huh? But it's together and it seems to work. I haven't started the engine to see if the headlight works, but I don't see any reason why it won't. Headlights all installed. These switches, you know, I just throw the handlebars on and I can throw the switches and whatnot on. And but all the wiring's hooked up. I gotta fix the trip meter thing on the speedometer, and then I'll reinstall that. But it's the cable, everything is all here. I put that little tape there so that nut doesn't fall down into the headlight bezel, or I'd take the headlight out again. That's the clutch cable. Brake cable goes through here. So everything, you know, is coming along pretty good. I'm going to do the work on the forks next, put new seals in them so I can reinstall the forks. Must be doing something right here. Check this out. Yeah, that's the original horn. So it even works. Awesome. So I got another present, and I have a feeling I know what this is, so let's open it up. The charger maintainer for that battery I bought for the 175. Now I had to order a cable for 6 volt, so hopefully that'll come in the next day or two. I had to order that from somewhere else, but we got a charger. Six volt goes there, 12 volt goes there. It comes with the 12 volt cables, but does not come with 6 volt. They're $9 for the 6 volt cable. So we got it coming. It's got like a little hook. Hang it. pretty slick. I have a feeling these are the cables right here. And the power cord. I pulled the front wheel and the brakes look good. This is what, that's a little grease seal there. This is just brake dust around the grease seal. I'll clean all this up. This I'll re-grease. That's the speedometer drive. That drive sits in those notches to spin to drive the speedometer. First things first, I cleaned the grease or the brake dust out of there and some of the grease with my trusty old brake cleaner there. Now I'm going to get the shoes off and then I'll clean the rest up in the parts washer, and I think I'm going to see if I can find a new seal for there, because I want to take all this apart and clean it out and re-grease it. Got this all cleaned out. The grease seal looks nice, but if I can get a new one I will. There's a grease seal there and a grease seal there. I'll try and get new ones and put them in. And the gear cleaned up. You can tell this is, you know, there's some quality here when you see grease grooves cut in there for grease here and in there. This sits down in here like so. So that's all clean, ready for some new grease. Shoes are clean, nothing wrong with them. So I'll get these pieces cleaned up and buff this out, and the hub is done. Got this pretty much all cleaned up. There's some places where the clears come off and the aluminum shined up a little brighter than the clear coated aluminum, and you know, there's some rough casting here from when it was manufactured, but it looks pretty good. The brake arm buffed that up in the spring and cleaned all that up, and I re-greased in here. That grease seal wasn't leaking, so I just decided to leave it, and got the shoes in, and everything's pretty much all set here. I'm going to wrap this up so no dirt gets in it and set it aside and continue on. I think next we're going to do the fork seals. I got to drain the oil out and get these caps out. I might have to put them back in the handlebars to get these off and get them apart, but I'm going to get them draining here very shortly. All right, I separated the forks. I'll clean this all up. This is what the brake cable, that's OEM, that the brake cable goes in. And this is aftermarket. This is a fork brace. And I'll clean this up and put it back on too, I believe. It says it was XL175 F1045. I bought this, I think when the motorcycle was new, so this has been on it since it's been absolutely brand new. So I took the top caps off. They weren't very tight. In fact, I could just hold on to this and turn them off with an 18mm wrench. And I took the drain plugs out of the bottom, and you can see it doesn't, I don't know what the heck was in there. It's supposed to have, well, probably fork oil, but it looks pretty nasty. I think they can tell you to use like 40 weight oil or automatic transmission. There's a few different fluids you can use. I'll probably get the proper fork oil for it. Then you measure out a certain amount and you're done. I gotta pop these off and put new seals in. There's an Allen wrench like screwing the bottom, and then these will come out. So I just popped the rubber boot off, and you can see the seal, and you can see a little clip. Pop that clip out. Oops, the spring just dropped out. I've been pushing the tube down, or it's just been falling down, but there's a couple springs in there. But I'll pop that out after I'll get the tube out and pop that out and pop the seal. I got new seals for it right there. Alright, I got the forks apart, got that little clip off, ready to pop that seal out. Just show them down in there. And get it all cleaned up and new sealing back together. Yeah, that was super nasty. This is all the stuff on the right from here over is all for the shock I'm working on now. The old grease seal came apart and pretty nasty, so we'll put the new one in. Where'd the new one go? I'll show you what the new one looks like. The new one's more of a one-piece seal. And I cleaned, it looks like in the past when it's been changed it's been buggered in there. So I tried to clean that up, and I'll put a little something around there, some lick dab or something to, not silicone or anything like that, maybe some brush stuff, just to make sure it doesn't leak around those. But that cleaned up pretty good, as you can see. And this goes in the very bottom, and this has to go in before the seal because it won't fit through the seal. So I'm just going to put it down in there right now so I don't forget. I took this out of the chrome tube part. This goes towards the bottom. That's what that hex screw screws into. And cleaned out this tube, fork tube too. This is the inside of it. So we'll get these back together, or this one back together, and do the other one. Alright, we're on the second day here, next day. And I'm going to put the seals in and put these shocks back together. They're all nicely cleaned up. Now I went online and did a little research and also looked at the Honda service manual, a factory Honda service manual. It says to fill these with automatic transmission fluid. So that's what I'm going to put in them. And it says 4.9 ounces if you're just changing the fluid, 5.4 ounces if you've totally 100% disassembled the shocks and got all the oil out. And apparently oil doesn't all come out when you drain it. And it was full of a lot of just nastiness. So I'm going to take this one apart and do the same to that one after I do this one. But I'm going to get the seal back in this one right now. Because that seal surface had a little bit of stuff on it, and it's a rubber back seal, I put a little of this on it. If it was this part of the seal is rubber. If this part of the seal is steel, I'd put Loctite on it. Rubber ones, I use this. And I just threw it in the press now. I got a lot of views on my press, and I just can do this by hand and push the seal right down in. And that's probably in. I don't really want to give it, I'll put the bar in it, but I think that's it. It's pressed in. Alright, I gotta set the camera down. If I loosen that and that goes up and I'm not holding that, that's going to end up on the floor. Seal is in. Now I can put this little, you can see the little groove where the snap ring thing goes in. And I might need two hands to do this, so I might have to set the camera down. But that goes in, then I'll put all this in, and the bolt, and then the springs, these springs going last. There's a spring on the bottom of this in here. Little rings in there. I'm going to get some automatic transmission fluid and kind of lube up everything so I'm not putting it together dry. I'm just going to smear it on there and smear it on this, you know, so the bore isn't dry here. And get this shock together and on the bike. Seeing I have a half a gallon of this, well, almost a half a gallon, this is what I'm gonna, it's right to there. This is what I'm gonna use. This is what I changed all the fluids in my dad's Jeep a while back, all the transmission and the transfer case and whatnot, and that's what I used in it. So it's going in the forks of the motorcycle too. The shock's all together, clips in, this is bolted, got the drain plug in, the Allen screw is in. That's what you got to take out to get, and you're supposed to use an impact driver on those, but I didn't have one that the socket would reach down in there. I mean, you can round them out without using one, trying to undo them, but I got it out. It came out rather easy, actually, surprisingly easy. So the next step is putting the oil in it, and I'm going to do it with the springs out, and I'm going to fill this beaker with about 5.5 ounces, or 5.4 ounces is what it calls for. So this is ounces, so 5.4 is about right there. Now I don't think a little bit over will hurt anything. It'll just make it stiffer. It's safer. Heavier riders put more oil in. For lighter riders, put less oil in. I'm just going to put what the shop manual calls for and call it good, which is the 5.4 ounces. It'll be maybe 5.5. We'll just put the oil in it and hope for the best. So I'll call that close enough to 5.4 ounces. What do you say? Alright, the shock absorber is fully compressed, and you can see the fluid in there. Without the spring fully compressed, I have 2¼ inches of air left in the shock. And like I say this, when I say compressed, this is pushed down as far as I can. So I did work it up and down a couple times, try and purge some of the air out. And I'm going to pull it out and put the springs in and see how it feels. Alright, there's one finished fork. Now if I don't like the ride I get from what I put in it, and drain it out, put whatever I want in it, refill it to whatever level I feel fit. If I feel it's too stiff, I can drain a little out. If I feel it's too loose, I can add a little. If I want more dampening, I can put thicker oil in it, but it's got what Honda called for, and I think that's what we're just going to call it good with. So this is, I believe, the left-hand shock, because it has the little thing that goes in the brake backing plate. So let me get the other shock done now. Shock number 2 in the parts washer. I actually put a little hose on, you know, they usually have a steel tube coming off, and I put a marine fuel line on it and a brush. So it just makes it a lot nicer for cleaning stuff than just having a spout spraying everywhere. There's the chain. I'm not going to reuse that. I'll just package it up and save it. It's still perfectly good. I bought a O-ring chain. That's just a standard chain there. The right shock's all apart and cleaned up. There was a lot of crud down in there. This thing, this piece that sits in the bottom, was just stuck down in there with just a massive amount of crud on it. So yeah, I guess I need to change the fork oil in it a little more often. Probably the last time it was changed was the last time the fork seals were replaced, and that's probably been 20 or 25 years, maybe longer. And so I think I'll change. It says service manual says every year or 12,000 miles, whichever occurs first. But for as little as I ride it, it might be about every 5 years. You know, I don't ride it much anymore. Probably will hardly ride it at all now. But it's all cleaned up and ready for reassembly. Got the seal and the clip in and that little doohickey that was held in with sludge. It's back down in the bottom. So this shock is ready to go together. I'll oil up the seal again like I did on the other one, and this, and some of this inside of this bore, and we'll throw it together and throw some oil in it. Alright, we got 5.4 ounces oil to go in this shock. And there we go. That's about the same 2¼ inches down from the top, fully contractor, you know, pushed in, not extended. They're both completely done. Resealed, new lube, new automatic transmission fluid. Ready to go back on the bike. This is the one I just now finished. And I meant to keep, I have a stand to set it on to put the wheels on. It's up at my dad's, and I was up there earlier and I forgot to bring it back with me, and it's 65 miles round trip, so I'm not just running up there to get it. So maybe Sunday if I get up his way, or one day, I don't know, who knows when, I'll get it, and then I can maybe get the wheel cleaned up tomorrow or whenever and get it on the stand. I can get the wheels back on it. I'm still waiting on the rear shocks. They came earlier, but they're signature confirmation, so I wasn't here, so they didn't leave them. So hopefully tomorrow I'll have the rear shocks. Once they're bolted on, the rear wheel can go on. So we're getting to we're ready to put the wheels on, but again, I forgot my stand to set the bike on. But no big deal, we'll figure something out. So I'm going to call it a day. Hit the like button if you enjoyed my video. If you enjoy my channel, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.